Hey everyone, this is John from EastCoastArmory.com, and I'm here today with a project update video for this 1/6 scale German SDKFZ 222 armored car. Since the last video update, the gun's carriage is now approximately 90% complete, and we'll be going over these additions in this video. And here goes the 90% completed gun carriage with gun temporarily affixed. One addition since the last video was that of the crank handle mount assembly. The piece is all single cast resin with all of its detailing equipped, and as you can see after it's mounted on, the control rod detailing has also been added. The crank handle itself will be assembled and affixed in the next video update. One area of the gun that has been completed since the last video update is that of the firing system. If we recall from the last video, I go into great lengths in describing how the firing system is controlled via a very elaborate linkage and pedal system, which is controlled on the gunner, which is on the opposite side of the gun. On the model here, you can see the top portion of the details that have been completed. Starting with the push rods, which emerge from the tube, we have two push rods controlled by two ball linkages. One unit here is for firing the main gun, and the second is for the coaxial MG34. Now, one unique feature that the gun carriage has that had to have been engineered into the kit was that of the way the gun goes up and down. Because the gun goes up and down, this portion here has to stay absolutely stable with the firing linkages, while this position here, which is utilized to fire the coax, needs to elevate and depress with the rest of the gun carriage. If I demonstrate it, you will see it work in action. As you can see, no matter how much I elevate and depress the gun carriage, this component here stays absolutely still and does not move, while this component here is linked to the carriage and moves in a synchronous motion. As for the coaxial machine gun, the 222, like all other German AFV of the time, utilized the MG34. Now, unlike the other armored vehicles in which that would be an MG34T with the different barrel shroud, the 222 utilized the standard MG34. For the model here, for the gun, I will be utilizing the the gun from Dragon. The Dragon MG34, in my opinion, is one of the finest representations of the MG34 in this scale. Now, also as of note, when the gun was installed to the mount, the buttstock would be removed and would be stowed inside the vehicle. This detail would be added a little bit later as the build progresses. For right now, the gun mount is all completed and is fully functional. You simply open up this clamp, and the MG34 lifts out of its gun mount. With the gun removed, you can see the mount in further detail. Starting with this little plate here on the 222 carriage, this is where the MG34's ammo can would be affixed. Now, unlike the German tanks, in which there would be a canvas and metal ammo bag which would clip on, for the 222 they utilize a long box style ammo can which would be slid over here. As for the mount is typical for what you would find like on a Lafette mount. It has a barrel clamp here which locks onto the barrel shroud of the MG34, and we have here a small little wire. Now, soon to be added is a retention type of like a vice style clamp, in which would clamp onto the clamp and would prevent it from opening. As for the rear portion of the mount, on the rear portion of the MG34, there are two small little lugs, and they would be clipped into this location here. This here is the actual firing linkage, which is then ball jointed to the pivoting location that I showed earlier. As for this assembly here, it would be for the spent belts. The MG34, like all German machine guns, fired from a non-disintegrating metal belt. The belt would, when the machine gun would fire, the belt would enter into this chute, which would then enter into a canvas bag, which would be clipped to the bottom portion here of the mount. The bag will be added as the build progresses. As for the shells, the spent shells on the MG34 eject from the bottom of the weapon, similar to an M2 or an M1919. And there would be a bag clipped to the machine gun itself, which would contain the spent shells and prevent them from running around all over the place on the vehicle's interior. Moving down to this component here, this component here is connected to the bottom portion of the machine gun mount. Now, as for its actual purpose, that I am unsure of. If anyone does know the actual purpose of this unit, feel free to comment it in the section below. As for this system here, it does have two bars and two rods which will loop around the carriage and connect to the opposite side to the optic bar clamp. I assume it must have something to do with adjusting the optic. However, again, it's purely speculation from what I've read and seen on it. And here we have a better view of the mount. As you see, the mount would be bolted to the carriage via fasteners. And this location here is where the canvas bag that collects the spent ammo belts would be collected. Moving to the opposite side of the weapon takes us to the optic mount. This location here, once complete, will house the tank's or the vehicle's optic for the gunner. It too is bolted directly to the carriage, and as you can see, does descend from the carriage mount. On the real 222, as well as on the model, there are going to be bulkheads which connect these two descending components together, and those will be added by the next video update. The last component that has been added is the spent shell chute for the actual flak gun. The chute itself is pretty substantial in size, and as you can see, is fully detailed with its welds and its canvas bag mounting surface that we have here. Just like on the opposite side, there is a large canvas bag which will be added in order to collect the spent shells from the flak gun to keep the interior of the vehicle nice and tidy. The actual component is a hollow resin casting. As you can see, it is not solid and is very nicely detailed. There is also a support rib, which is a separate casting which gets added to the piece and is prototypical of the unit. All the components that you see here will be supplied with the carriage kit once released. As you can see, the work on the carriage is coming to an end, and the unit in this condition here is about 90% complete. The last bits to be added will be the last components for the optic bar, the optic, as well as the crank handle for the gunner. Once completed, the gun kit will be released on eastcoastarmory.com, and this particular unit here will be fully painted, weathered, and finally installed to the vehicle. And with that, that concludes this model update video for this 1/6 scale 222 German armored car. If you like this video, stop by and like us on Facebook. And don't forget to check out eastcoastarmory.com for more 1/6 scale builds, as well as 1/6 scale and 1/16 scale detail components. Thank you.